Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, today I'm riding something which is actually really rather sexy. This is the new R1300 RS. Now, of course, the R1300 platform was launched end of year before last, with the GS, and then last year we had the GS Adventure, of course, and this year we've already had the R1300R and the R1300 RT. Well, this is the final bike in the R1300 platform to have a bit of an update, and this is the RS. So remember, cast your minds back a month or so ago and I rode the BMW HP2 Sport. Remember that sports bike BMW made with the Bikesure engine? It was the 1200 at the time, but it was top quality, beautiful componentry. I think that was the last time BMW got seriously sporty with the Bikesure twin engine. So today we're going to be taking this out for a bit of a spin. This is going to be a performance test of this machine. So this is going to be about how sporty is this bike. So we're going to take it on my normal test ride route, chuck it around a few twisties and see how sporty this machine is. Being the RS version, this is the sport. If you look in the BMW website and go under sports, you will see this bike. So we're going to chuck this around, see how sporty it is, and then I'm going to do a follow-up video on the touring potential of this bike and take it on a decent long run to see what it's like for longer distances and for touring. But this video is going to be the sports part of the review. So if you're interested in the new R1300 RS, then strap yourselves in, make yourself comfortable. It's time to see how this bike rides. Chop C, roll the intro.
The BMW R1300 RS, the latest evolution in a long line of bikes built to go fast, far and smugly past everyone else refueling their V4s. It all began in the 1970s with the R100 RS, the first production motorcycle to come with a full fairing. BMW said it was all about aerodynamics. Everyone else said it looked like a fridge that had seen combat. Fast forward to the 2000s and we got the R1100 and R1150 RS. Big, heavy and about as sporty as your dad's knees. But they were solid, dependable and weirdly good at absolutely everything. Then came the R1200 RS in 2015, followed by the R1250 RS in 2019. Finally a Bikesure twin with some attitude, sportier, sleeker, and now we have this. The R1300 RS. Lighter, faster, cleverer. BMW has squeezed 145 horsepower and 149 newton meters of torque out of the Bikesure twin platform while shedding 12 kilos. It's part superbike, part spaceship, part luxury saloon. But the question is it still a sports tourer? Let's go find out.
So the BMW R1300 RS, as I said at the beginning, I have ridden, I think, all of the 1250 versions of this. Oh, I've ridden the 1250 version. I went to the UK launch of that bike and I rode it again in Spain. Obviously this is that Bikesure twin that's evolved over the years. I'm not going to go into the history of this engine. I think everyone's aware of this engine, but obviously refreshed to a 1300. It's now got the shift cam, all that stuff. BMW have changed the gearbox position to make the bike a bit shorter and done a lot of work and reduced a lot of weight within the engine and the chassis. So the old bike, of course, had the trellis frame. You know, it was a great bike. So I've ridden it a couple of times before in the past, really liked it. What BMW have done with this new 1300 is they've brought in much more of a sporty side. So the bars are a bit lower. I've actually got a little bit of weight on my wrists here. Nothing extreme, but there's definitely weight on my wrists. The pegs are sort of back a little bit. And again, this has got the sort of sports rear sets which come with this M Sport model. So in typical BMW fashion, there's lots of different ways you can tune this bike to suit the sort of bike you want. So you can go more touring with it, with the panniers and the adaptive cruise control. But if you want to go super sporty on this M Sport version, you can't have any panniers. You can't add the panniers as an option, which I don't really understand. Why can't I have a sporty white one with the sports suspension, the sports seat, and put panniers on it? You can't. Now, I'm not sure why BMW have done that, I don't really understand that, but this is the sports version, so this has a stiffer suspension, longer travel suspension, so you get a bit more travel to chuck it around, and it's definitely a sporty setup on that suspension. It is electronic, of course, but you know, it does give a bit of a sports feedback, and I've got it in the dynamic mode at the moment to make everything firm up and everything like that. And yeah, it's a serious bit of kit, this, I have to say. Sort of turn in, feel from the tarmac. I can feel everything from the tarmac, all the little indentations in the road. I mean, this is a 245 kilo bike, so you know, it's a big old beast, so it's never going to be as agile or as nimble, you know, as the S1000 RR. It's not that sort of bike, but this is the sportiest boxer engine, well, apart from probably the HP2 Sport, of course, that was pretty sporty, but this is probably the second most sportiest boxer bike BMW have ever made. And competitors, well, does it really have any? You know, I can't think of any other bike this is competing against. This is really in a bit of a segment of its own, so you have to tailor the bike for the use it's going to be used for when you order it. So if you want one which you can tour on, you can't get the sports version. On this version you can't put the luggage on, and I don't think you can have the adaptive cruise control on this one either. I don't know why. I guess because you haven't got the radar module on the back and stuff like that, because it all looks a bit more streamlined. But yeah, there's no adaptive cruise on this. There's no provisions for panniers. Of course you can add soft luggage. I don't understand that. I really don't understand why you can't have panniers on it. That seems like a big old sacrifice for the sporty looks if you can't have panniers. But park that for a moment if you can. Let's see how sporty this thing really is. So the riding position is very nice actually. Oh, I've got weight on my wrist, so this is definitely more sporty than the old RS. I've definitely got a bit of weight on my wrists here. Nothing too extreme, you know, I'm not talking sports bike weight on your wrist, but there's a definite 10%, but 5%. I can feel it on my wrists anyway, let's put it that way. The sports version comes with the billet foot pegs, so I think they're perhaps a little bit further back, so my feet are behind my knees in that sort of sporty position, but it's not extreme, it's not uncomfortable. I'm 6'2", 20 stone, as many will know, and I fit on this beautifully. I'm not cramped, I've not got anything digging in my bum, I've got plenty of room. The bike isn't particularly wide between your legs, it feels quite nice, and there's a nice ergonomic cutouts into the tank to wrap your legs in, so it's a real sort of cozy, sporty position with loads of weather protection. So I like that a lot, and it feels like a big substantial bike in front of me. Let's give it a little bit of Wellington. There's so much torque. It picks up speed deceptively fast. BMW claim a 3.3 second 0 to 60 on this, but it is all about torque. You know, as you rev it, it does lose a little bit of performance at the top, but this new R1300 engine is proper sporty compared to the R1250. So I think, you know, having that sportier platform, I think it does make sense to make the RS version more sporty to match that engine and chassis. So yeah, there's no telly lever up front on this with conventional forks, which I think are Marzocchi, but you have the power lever rear, so the rear suspension is the same as the GS, but the front is normal, you know, inverted forks. In your own time, love. Okay, let's give it a little chuck around here. I mean, it feels weighty. It's it's a 245 kilo bike. There is some weight there, but the direction changes are really, really fast. I'm getting good feedback from the road. Let's see what the weight transfer's like. Not too much sort of rock and rolling, to be honest. It's all pretty firm, and it's exactly where you want it. A bit of rear brake just to keep it tucked in. You don't have to hang out the seat, you know, it lays on its side. So torquey, the speed picks up really quickly. I actually think this feels more sporty than that HP2 Sport I rode the other day. Definitely handles better than that bike, and you're in a more comfortable riding position. And if you do hit a few big bumps in the road, it does swallow them up still. It's not jarring in any way. It's electronic, the suspension, so you can flip between the modes to adjust the comfort levels. But all of the modes are quite sporty. You never lose that feel from the tarmac, which you do with electronic systems sometimes. I don't know why I've got so much wind noise. Let's try to... Is that better with the screen up? I found this before with the RS. You know, the screen puts... I'm not getting wind on my helmet. Sort of the wind's finishing here, I can feel it. But you get a lot of wind noise around your shoulders, and you can probably hear that on the video. So I do apologise about that. There's now I can do about it though, because it's like that with the screen up or down. Now I'm 6'2". Wind noise and buffeting is a very sort of personal thing, isn't it? It depends where you're sitting on the bike. But as you are counted forward a bit more on this, so if I duck down like that, it's beautifully and calm. I think I'd have to get maybe some sort of little extender on top of the screen, because yeah, it's quite a noisy bike. I'm struggling to avoid wind noise when you're going above 50 miles an hour. You can get a bigger touring screen. You know, this has got a slightly smaller screen, I think, to make it look better. But yeah, I'm definitely getting, even though I can't feel any buffeting, I'm just picking up turbulence around my sort of shoulder area. So having a little walk around of this machine, I mean, I think it's fair to say that this is actually a good looking bike, certainly in this colour scheme. I love the black nose cone, gloss black nose cone, obviously the M Sport colours. Oh, I just think it looks really, really good. And with that new sort of, you know, new sheet metal frame design and the cast rear section, it all looks quite sleek. So, I mean, when was the last time you heard people say about a new BMW that it looks good? Now, they've always come under a lot of flack about the looks of the GS and all of the sort of bikes which have come out. But I think this one, they've absolutely nailed the sporty looks on this. Let's have a close look at the details. This one is fully sporty. So this has the chrome black downpipes, which is an option. I think it's on a 90 quid. They have the chrome black downpipes. Bit of a mouthful, but I think they look really good, and they'll save any of that sort of corrosion. And that's the whole of the lower section of the exhaust. It's all coated in that like black chrome. This also has the optional Akropovich, so this one is fully spec'd. The sports pack model also comes with all the performance rear sets and stuff, and you see you've got some adjustable positions there. What I really like on this bike, and excuse the flickering, these tail lights don't flicker in real life, but the integrated sort of lights into the grab rail. That looks really good. So you don't have the rear lights built into the indicators. They've got a separate tail light and looks like brake light as well at the bottom. But that looks beautiful, doesn't it, the way that's integrated into there. And I really like the sports seat and everything you get on this option as well. Very comfortable, nicely padded, not that wide, but we'll talk about comfort when we do the longer road test. I also like all this sort of textured centerpiece down the bike as well. So you don't need a tank pad, you know, you don't have to worry about scratching the tank. You've got all of that sort of lovely integrated red. I think that is colour matches. So if you get this option, again, I think it's an option you've got to tick and pay more for, but you can get it colour coordinated. Here is that shaft drive unit. Obviously the transmission and running gear is the same as the GS, apart from the front forks, which are conventional forks. So there's no telly lever at the front end anymore, but there is a power lever on the tail. So the rear suspension is the same as the GS, but the front is actually conventional forks to give it, I guess, more of a normal performance road feel. The sports version comes with the tinted screen, which I think is just get your hand on it and slide it up and down. I thought that might be electric on this, but it's not. It's a manual screen. One thing I'm really not keen on is these shorty levers. Now, I don't know if these are standard on the RS or whether that's part of the performance pack, but yeah, I'm really not keen on shorty levers, so and keep them. Switch gear is your usual BMW affair, and the bike is sort of semi-sporty on the riding position, but you can get optional high-rise bars to make it a bit more touring-y. But I think it's fair to say that this is a good-looking motorcycle, and it's like a sports bike but a bit bigger, so it would make an ideal machine for a larger rider who wants to still be sporty. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing that there's no option to put luggage on this sports version. So I'm left a little bit confused what this is all about if you can't put luggage on it. But hey ho, I'm sure BMW know what they're doing. It does have linked brakes. I could feel it there when it went on the rear. The front started to be pulled. But let's chuck it up the hill climb. It's very stable because it's so heavy. So it has a real stable feel. I've got to be careful on my hand, so I don't want to lose the camera again. But you open the throttle and it just fires up the road because of the torque. But yeah, it feels like a big bike, but you can shut this around, and I dare say you could probably do a track day on this, ridiculous as it sounds. As long as it wasn't too tight and twisty, you could chuck it about. Yeah, this is lovely. That's a real sweet handling bike, that is. Big, heavy, pretty agile. It takes a little bit of direction change because of the weight, but because the engine's so low and you've got that low centre of gravity with that Boxer twin, it's surprising how quickly that changes direction. But it feels very stable, big and heavy, but yeah, beautifully smooth around the corners. What is impressive with it, so you've got it in 4th gear, well this even put 5th gear, let's put even a higher gear, 3,000 revs, open the throttle, the thing just accelerates, and that's the beauty of I think this engine. So if you like bikes which are a bit lazier, you know, you can just leave it in a higher gear, rely on the torque, then this is the perfect sort of platform to do that. I think the downsides with the Boxer engine is the gear shift is quite firm and it's a little bit clunky. You know, it's the same old story everyone says about this this Boxer engine. I mean, this bike does only have 300 miles on the clock, so it's not really fully run in, and the gearbox does feel quite tight, and yeah, a little bit, yeah, the quick shifter's not that brilliant. It's not quite as good as I remember the GS being, so I'm wondering whether this is just because this bike is so new and there's so few miles on it. I mean, if we go 4th gear, look, 4th gear, 3,000 revs, the thing just fires off up the road. When you get to 5,000 revs, the acceleration is really quite addictive. Let's chuck it around here. Let's give it another left-hander, bit of rear brake. There's not a great deal of feel from the tarmac, would be a slight criticism. I mean, I can feel the tarmac, but when you're on its side, I think because of the weight, because the suspension has to be quite firm to manage all that weight, it's obviously quite beefy. I think you lose a little bit of feel when it's on the side of the tyre perhaps, but you know, I'm splitting hairs. I'm splitting hairs. There's got to be some compromise when you're chucking a 240 kilo bike around. You can feel that weight, but it does handle it very, very well. Cruising is rather lovely. I mean, 6th gear at 60 miles an hour, I'm doing 3,000 revs, and if you open the throttle, it just goes. Now that is the beauty of this platform, that torque. So if you love your bikes torquey and sporty, this could be the bike for you. So from a sports point of view, I think the RS, it does offer that sporty edge, certainly over the GS. You know, it is a fine handling bike. It's 245 kilos, so it's a heavy bike, but throwing it around the twisties, it does it, it handles it, it's very stable. You get good feedback from the road without it being a bit too much. Let's have a look. The overtaking grunt, 3rd gear, 3,000 revs, you know. There's a rocket ship on the torque, which I like that. I like the lazy overtakes. That is nice. You do have to give a little bit of lever pressure to get it to change direction. It is big, you know, the bars aren't massively wide, they're reasonably wide, but they're not like a, you know, it's not like a naked, so you need a little bit of bar pressure. Brakes are also really nice, loads of feel. I think they are linked because I do quite a lot of rear brake and I felt the front coming in quite often. But yeah, it just lays over, you know, very predictable, power, out the bend, same in again. oh, you know, if you've got confidence to really lay it in, much more than you would on a GS. You'd never be as happy throwing it on its side on a GS. That's nice. Now I'm a bit older, you know, I can see the appeal of this sort of sports machine. A little bit hot there, not my mind. Just lay it in. Lay it in. You know, you don't get masses of feel when it's on the side of the tyre, but I get enough feel. I can feel what the tyre's doing. I can feel the bumps. Ooh, pull it in. It's a bit heavy, so you want to sort of get most of your braking out of the way before you tip the front in. So you do have to ride it with a little bit of caution around the really tight, twisty stuff, because it is a heavy old machine. But yeah, very nice, very nice. It certainly lives up to those RS credentials, that's for sure. It's a great bike, no doubt, but does this Bikesure engine suit a sportier bike? Shout pigeon. Now, it's a similar question I posed on the HP2 Sport I rode, and that was a full-on sports bike position, but with this Bikesure engine. The problem with this Bikesure engine, not that there's a problem per se, but on a sports bike, is it exciting enough? Does it sound exciting enough? No, you know, it doesn't sound that exciting, this engine. I mean, this bike has the Acra can on it as well, and I can't really hear the engine at all, you know. It's not even doing that little burbly pop that it used to. That's gone with like the Euro 5 stuff. But you know, it's not the most exciting engine, you know, it's just not. But what it does give you is instant grunt, you know, perfect, effortless overtakes, all that sort of stuff in a chassis which is now bloody good, and handles and does all of that stuff as well, you know. Brakes, performs, trail brake, a little bit heavy, but you know, it can do it. And but I just wonder whether this is a real sports bike engine in this. But if you do like bikes which have got instant grunt, instant overtaking power, and you want to be a little bit sporty but you still want a lot of comfort, check the RS out. It could be the bike for you. So there we go, the R1300 RS, and I will be doing that long distance test very soon. So if you're interested in this bike, don't forget to subscribe, like, all that jazz, ready for that second test ride. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Massive thanks to BMW UK for providing me this bike so early after release, so that is really appreciated. So thank you very much for that, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care, ride safe, see you soon.